another round of Katawa Shoujo off stream. I know, I'm just gotta get this route finished. I keep saying that we'll get it finished, but it's been taking us a fair while, and I do apologize. I make a lot of mistakes. I make a lot of mistakes reading and playing this game, but part of that is because I'm always consciously trying to read faster, and it's not doing us any favors. And for that, I am both sorry that it doesn't read well, and sorry that my English becomes garble. Anyway, today we are once again trying to get to the end of the Shizune route, and so we can... Yes, I've been away from stream for a while, as many of you will know, although I'm sure not many of you will pass eyes over this unless you have been following. But I would like to start another Katawa Shoujo route the next time we play. This is why. This is why. Let's go. Only a day later, the weekend has already arrived. I drop a heavy stack of books on the librarian's desk, not meaning to slam them, but they weigh so much that it happens anyway. But Yuko bolts out of her chair with enough force to dislodge her glasses. She barely holds on to them. Oh, hi.
Sorry, I'm here to return all those books I was supposed to.
Oh, that's great, but I wish you'd brought them back sooner. It wouldn't be a problem if the library had more copies of everything, but it doesn't, and they act like that it's my fault.
They?
Other students, they can be, pretty pushy.
Sorry, it just kind of slipped my mind. It's been a pretty rough couple of days.
Oh, I suppose you don't want to talk about it? Yuko meekly turns to the task of logging all the books I brought back as returned, treating them with extreme care and precision, like she's a bomb disposal technician rather than a librarian. Over the past couple of days, I've been thinking about something Misha said. Of course, I'd thought about everything she said, but one thing in particular keeps coming back. She talked about how she didn't want to miss people or think about being apart from them anymore. When I recalled those words, they stopped me cold like a sharp slap across the cheek. In just a few months, we'll be graduating. Misha and Shizune were nearly inseparable, but after graduation, they might never see each other again. I wonder if that thought is what started all of this. If Misha were to try and talk to Shizune about it, Shizune likely wouldn't think about it at all. It would sadden her, and for that reason she would try and toss it away. For someone like Shizune who's so quick to suppress her worries, it would be easy. Misha turned out to be more sensitive than she seemed. It would have crushed her, even more so because Shizune's reaction could come off as pretty cold. I don't know if that's how Shizune handles it, but it seems likely, and I can understand why she would act that way. I can also understand why Misha would be troubled by the thought of drifting away from someone who is such an important part of her. I'd never thought about graduation until that moment. Then I began to think things like, has it really only been less than a year? I started thinking of everyone I've met, not only Shizune and Misha, but everyone else. They were fond thoughts. Then I thought of losing them. Suddenly, I could understand Misha's anxieties. It could be nice to talk to someone about it.
Actually, I kind of want to.
Oh, with whom? I can sense an obvious tinge of apprehension in her voice.
With you.
Oh, really? Are you sure? Why me?
Because you're an adult.
That's it? Oh, that's... Wincing, she fidgets a little in her seat, trying to get comfortable in a pretty uncomfortable-looking way. I guess this means she's okay with it?
Is it hard being an adult?
Yes. I don't think I'm that old, though. It's surprising that students now, like Shizune and you, wear stuff like perfumes or cologne. I never did. I still don't use them. By the way, you're not wearing your grape cologne today.
Yeah, it wasn't working out for me.
Oh, that's good. I thought the same thing.
Sorry.
Yuko looks genuinely sorry and I feel a pang of guilt. I smile, despite myself. A tiny lie like that can come to bite me in the butt. Misha, trying to conceal how she felt in order to put on a happy face for Shizune for so long, must have been crushing.
Someone I know brought up that we're going to be graduating, and I realized that I've never thought about it before. I feel stupid that I could go so long and never think about these things. I've met a lot of great people, and I've never thought about what it's going to be like to graduate and maybe never see them again.
There are still ways you could keep in touch.
Yeah, I guess. I feel childish. I know everyone is going through the same thing, probably. I bet you hear this kind of problem a lot.
No, I haven't been working here that long. I worried about the same thing when I graduated from high school. I didn't go to school here, though. I also miss my friends, and I wish I'd kept in touch with them better. I should have tried harder. Yuko isn't really helping me feel better, and she clams up quickly when she sees it on my face.
I don't want to look back and have those same regrets. I wonder if Shizune even thinks about that kind of stuff. Because she goes on sometimes about how she doesn't want to live with any regrets.
Wow, that sounds impossible to me. I nod, only halfway wanting to agree. Even so, I think that's kind of admirable too. Kind of brave. Don't you think so?
Brave is a new way to put it.
Yuko shakes her head insistently. It's true though, and also kind of intimidating.
Jeez, you shouldn't be intimidated by high schoolers.
I'll try. She turns away to start folding a sticky note over and over. Pretty idle behavior for a university student, but more importantly, I wonder if I said the wrong thing to her. Being around Shizune for so long, I can't stop breathing as much as I can into every moment of silence. If Yuko were the type of person who didn't get intimidated by high schoolers, it probably wouldn't be so easy to talk to her. It's all too easy to want to shed some negative quality of yours. When I think of everyone I know, it's those qualities that I like the best. I don't think I really regret it. I thought as long as I could remember the good times, that was enough. I don't know. Sorry. I notice a couple of students starting to trickle into the library and decide that my time is up.
No, that was helpful. I feel like two of my friends are fighting because one of them is taking the fact that we might not see each other again after we graduate really hard, and the other is probably being stoic about it, which only makes it worse. I don't get how I'm supposed to handle this kind of situation. It doesn't seem like the kind of problem where I'll have to end up taking a side, but it could turn out that way, and then I have no idea what I'm going to do.
You should tell them that they shouldn't fight.
I know, fighting is bad. It's not Shizune and Misha, by the way.
Okay. I wasn't really thinking that though. How embarrassing. Even though I knew it would be, I still feel my cheeks redden. And even so, I still said something so transparent and blatantly a lie. But it could be that sometimes that is the right way.
Do you have any books about people who have to make hard decisions?
Well, we have a lot of self-help books. It's funny that I can find that surprising because I wouldn't have only a few months ago.
I meant about, not for. There aren't many, right?
Yes, not many, I mean. Though I feel a bit apprehensive about it, I want to talk to Shizune. I don't understand why I feel nervous about it, and that disgusts me a little. It also motivates me to look for her right then and there, although I don't have to look very hard. She's in the student council room, as always. Worryingly, Misha isn't with her. When Shizune notices me and looks up from her paperwork, the first thing I ask is where she is. I don't know. There is so much uncertainty in her answer that I can't let it go just like that. She's missing a lot of school. Are you the attendance police? That's really strange coming from the student council president. Shizune hides a laugh behind a cupped hand, and I start to think that I might be worrying for nothing. But then her laughter slowly fades away to a more serious and pensive expression. You're right. Yesterday, I catch the hint of a knowing smile on her face when she sees my poorly hidden panic at the word. Despite her best efforts, she can't help being satisfied and eliciting surprise from everyone else to the very end. Even then, I can see that she has bigger concerns from how quickly her smile vanishes. Before either of you noticed me, I saw what you were saying. I'm not stupid. If I hadn't, I could still see through Misha while you were walking back. Even if she hadn't told me everything later, I didn't make a big deal out of it. But any way you look at it, it's my fault, isn't it?
What did she tell you?
Shizune winces at the question, though it's clear she's been expecting it. She follows it up with a very grand gesture. A lot. Like, that I can be selfish and confusing. I try too hard to bring people around me and then push them away. I didn't know what I should do. I thought she was right to mention all of those things, so I just agreed with her, but that only made things worse. I don't understand. Adjusting her glasses, she looks pretty tired. I hope it isn't because she's been busy avoiding Misha, but I can't help considering the possibility, seeing where this conversation is going. It's true. Even the student council being this small, and us always being swamped with work, is my fault. I might have even ended up driving a lot of people off and away from the student council acting like that. Shizune wags a finger mischievously, acknowledging that might is an understatement. However, from how rarely she does it, it's obvious the humor is only to put me at ease and therefore not genuine. Like Lily, for instance. She was the first person to join when I started trying to recruit people again after everyone else left because they couldn't stand me, I guess. We managed to put together the last festival and even ran a booth together at the last minute. But I didn't like her because I thought she was selfish, always holding us up in order to tend to one friend of hers for another, and leaving Misha and me alone to sort out things involving the whole school by ourselves. If there were any problems she was going through, she would leave us high and dry while she panicked over it, and wouldn't come back until it was solved. She would focus on it 100% and be too preoccupied to focus on any student council work. That was the worst to me, that she could be so nice and still take so many people for granted. Why even join the student council then? It seems so short-sighted and selfish, don't you think? But it's actually me who's that way. Like Misha said, always trying to pull people close to me and then shutting them out. That is how I've treated her, which makes me a bad friend. And it feels like I did the same thing to you then, so I guess I'm a bad girlfriend too. Even if Misha says that you might as well replace her. I'm angry that I screwed things up enough for it to get this out of hand. All I wanted was to. She pauses to look for the right words, tenting her fingers in concentration. Make people happy, I think. Even though that seems like a simple way to put it. As she rests her head against her hand, Shizune's bangs fall delicately across her eyes, hidden behind those polished glasses reflecting just the tiniest bit of light. It may be wrong to think so, but right now, she seems especially beautiful, like a more complete person. It feels like this is my first chance to respond to her outpouring of emotions. Replacing Misha as Shizune's interpreter? Misha must be joking. It took all my energy to keep up with her just now, her signing filled with gestures that I've never seen before. Likely their habits picked up from Misha and developed from years of them being together. I could never replace someone so close to her.
I like you because I like you, not because I got tricked into it by you.
Despite how hard she tried anyway. I continued to stare back into her eyes, as sharp as ever. The first time I saw them, they had seemed a bit intimidating to me, like the eyes of a predator. That hasn't changed, which I find reassuring. I still want to make everyone happy.
Starting with Misha?
Shizune looks a bit annoyed that I would imply she would start with anyone else, and smiles confidently as though a friend's sadness is a physical opponent she can just strangle into submission. Of course, obviously, naturally. Taking off her glasses, she leans back in her chair and lets out a sigh. It's the first time I've seen her without them on, but I don't get a good look before she slips them back on. But I'm too tired to start today. First thing tomorrow. Do you want to help?
Yeah.
And I have other student council stuff you could help me with while you're at it. Although it turns out that there isn't much other work at all. There's no school today, so I expected to be able to sleep in late. Unfortunately, I'm awakened by someone mercilessly pounding on my door at 8 in the morning. At first I think it could be Kenji, but when my shouts of annoyance go unanswered, I realize it's Shizune. She immediately backs away from the door when I open it, quickly concealing something behind her back. Kind of ominous.
What's that? Is it a surprise? I don't really like surprises.
The displeased expression on her face says that she wants me to stop being such a wet blanket, but she's too busy fumbling with what's behind her back to sign it. It must be frustrating for her, because seconds later she swings the object out proudly and also a little dangerously. Ta-da! A picnic basket. We can have lunch together, the three of us. It's not really a basket, it looks more like a plastic bag. Taking a quick look inside, I can see that most of the food inside is also store-bought, not homemade. Some items still have the price stickers on. There's a very diverse selection here though, even a tiny tin of caviar. I'm slowly becoming more impressed with this lunch. I pick a grape out of there and pop it in my mouth. Don't just take things like that. I spent all night perfecting this final weapon. Shizune places it on the ground to free up her hands and immediately starts playfully tapping it between her feet like a soccer ball. Definitely not what you should do to anything you're going to call the final weapon. All part of my get Misha to stop being so depressed plan. I stayed up all last night working on it. When we tried to order in last time, Misha barely got anything and used it as an excuse to leave early. I won't let her get off so easily this time. The food is already here. You'll have to sit down and eat it with us. It's the perfect bait. Doesn't everything look irresistible? I tried to make it myself, but I don't know how to make it look all fancy, so I ended up buying everything. Still, looks delicious, doesn't it? It should be. She's very perky today, juiced up on the thought of cheering Misha up. Although it's odd to see her so happy about it, I know that she's just as unsure now as she was yesterday. The only thing that has changed is that by viewing it as a sort of challenge for herself, she can put her worries aside and throw herself into it recklessly. It has worked well enough for Shizune so far. It wouldn't surprise me if it's the only way she knows how to live.
It's a little early though.
It's already 8 in the morning. That's late. Even Misha gets up at 8 or 9. She goes to bed at 7 p.m., but that isn't important.
It's very important.
Shizune ignores me, gagging my hands by taking them in hers instead of a more proper rebuttal. The way she lingers against me a moment longer than expected feels really comforting. The point is, she's awake right now, walking around somewhere. Let's go find her. She sprints out the door impatiently, and her gusto, as she drags me along looking for Misha, makes me feel more like I'm following a hunter on a safari than looking for a mutual friend. We don't have to look very hard. Even cropped short, her pink hair stands out. The fact that she's just meandering around the grounds out in the open makes it even easier. Now I'm sounding like Safari Hunter.
Misha.
Huh?
We were just looking for you.
It's a good day for a picnic. You should join us. We have caviar. We even have caviar, not sturgeon, of course, but really tasty. Caviar? Sturgeon? Apparently finding it annoying to have to explain anything at length with only one hand, Shizune gives up quickly. Fish eggs. What? It tastes good. Sorry, Shi-chan. I think I'll pass for today. When Misha starts to walk away, Shizune holds the bag out towards me, needing me to take it so that her hands can be free. As soon as it's out of her hands, she darts in front of Misha, cutting her off. I made so much food, though. Sorry, I'm just not hungry right now. When are you going to be hungry then? Hi-chan, that's impossible to know. You can guess. The tension between them infuriates Shizune, and she's trying to deal with it by trying to tear through it, but that approach isn't going to work. I'd thought and hoped that Misha had gotten herself together, but I guess she was just cut too deep by what happened. In that case, it's really out of anyone's hands. I believe that Shizune might understand that on some level. If she didn't, she wouldn't have any doubts at all. Because she can't speak, though, I've learned to notice her hesitation. It's very clear she might as well be screaming. Misha waves her hands in front of her, not wanting to continue the discussion any further, and quickly slips away. Shizune fumes silently, reluctant to let her go, but having no way to keep her here. As Misha's back grows smaller in the distance, I wonder where she's heading off to. Is Shizune wondering the same thing as she bites her lip in frustration? I want to touch her reassuringly on the shoulder, but I stop myself, not knowing if it's the right thing to do. Not because she looks fragile, vulnerable, or sad. It's the opposite. After a while, her expression belies no emotion at all. Only contemplation. Suddenly she whirls around. Now all this food is going to go to waste.
Yeah.
That makes me mad. Although it's obvious Shizune's more hurt than mad, the bag dangling from my hand feels like it's filled with lead. Let's go on a date.
Let's use it then.
Where do you want to go?
I don't know.
The roof. It's my favorite spot. A wry smile appears on her face, disappearing just as quickly. On the roof, I immediately crack open the caviar, ignoring a derisive look from Shizune all the while. I end up putting it down immediately.
Where are the toast points?
I didn't make any. Like I told you, I brought everything.
Not toast points, though.
Why is that important? Anyway, they don't sell just toast points. That would be stupid.
I bet they do.
Maybe in stores for the exceptionally lazy, but not here. Why don't you use a tortilla chip?
A tortilla chip is not the same.
They're both triangles. Stop being such a princess. I didn't know there was a proper way to eat caviar. This is the first I'm hearing of it.
It's not the same thing at all.
I can't be decadent like this. And anyway, how can she not know? She lives in a huge mansion. Shizune takes the opportunity to scoop half the tin onto a single chip in the meantime.
Hey! I'm sure it doesn't even taste good like that.
There's too much food here for 2 people. Because we can't communicate with each other while we eat, Shizune and I have a lot of time to sit in silence and think about the fact that Misha, the person she set all this up for, isn't here. It's annoying that she isn't here. I can't even enjoy my meal like this. I stare at the paper cup next to her, still half full of juice.
I thought you didn't want all this food to go to waste.
I wanted Misha to be here too. That was the whole point. I wasn't able to accomplish what I wanted to, so it doesn't taste good. You should eat it. Eat more.
I want the fried things though. You keep eating them all, even though you say they don't taste good.
Fried things are always delicious. There's always an exception for them.
You'll get fat. I think you're being too aggressive.
It's like I told you yesterday. I'm only trying to cheer her up.
Yeah, but it seems more like you're planning a military campaign.
I'm only trying to take it seriously. And this is the only way I know how to do it seriously. I feel so powerless. I hate it. I can't even yell at her too, even though I want to. Yelling is for serious occasions, right?
Yeah.
You should yell at Misha for me. You can tell her that I want her to stop being so down. Even if she feels sad and alone, it's no reason to stay gloomy forever.
Why don't you?
I already did. Over a game of dice. Under over, to be exact. I won 5 times. Only the 2 of them would take so much pride in winning games of pure chance. Then I tried to talk to her, but it didn't go so well, obviously.
Well, so did I. I tried and failed.
My goal has always been to do everything better, though.
Yeah, your one-upmanship is really something.
But I fail too. That's why I want your help. I don't understand what I'm supposed to do anymore. For someone like Shizune who's only ever interacted with the world by locking horns with every obstacle in her path, understanding only goes so far. I want to tell her that she doesn't have to worry, that she is great at cheering people up because she managed to cheer me up my first week here. In retrospect, I must have looked like kind of a dick being in such a sour mood from the moment I came here, even though I don't think I was being unreasonable. Even having months to digest it, finding out that you have a heart defect like I did is hard to deal with. I'd had much less time to mull over suddenly being transferred to Yamaku on top of that. Spending the festival with Shizune really helped me out of a rut. I was happy enough to forget that the entire time it had felt as though she were manipulating me. I understand now that I had allowed myself to be manipulated. Even though I felt like I was at the bottom of the world, I still wanted to have a normal life again. I'm sure because I enjoy what I have now. I think it must be the same for everyone, including Misha. Everyone wants someone there to pull them up, out of their self-pity. It's just that Misha always wanted Shizune to be that person, but because they can't be together, I think Misha feels that she can't accept Shizune's hand. And that frustrates Shizune, but if she could cheer up a stranger like me, then she'll die trying with Misha. I can see it in her eyes too, though she tries to treat it like any other problem in her life. Shizune cannot do that with Misha's depression. Her thought processes are entirely different, in some ways more careful, in some ways more reckless and frenetic. She cares that much more. I end up not saying anything. Partly because sitting next to her like this, just the 2 of us, is pleasant enough in itself that I don't want to interrupt the moment with a question. And partly for a more cowardly reason. I've started to think they weren't, but I don't know if her actions that day might not have been an afterthought or even a fluke, just a collection of coincidences. I don't know if that would change anything, but I'm uncomfortable thinking about it. The fence behind me trembles slightly, and I turn to see that it's because Shizune has fallen asleep leaning against it. Considering she was up all night, it's not surprising. Where does all that motivation come from? Not just in regards to Misha. I'm cynical, so it's hard for me to just accept that anyone can simply be that strong. My first thought was maybe it's because she hates herself. Very plausible. Leaning against her, I feel sad that might be the case. But it could be that we're similar in that we both want to be better people. It seems like I ate too much yesterday because I wake up in the morning feeling nauseous enough for it to be a problem. I really can't postpone going into town for shopping though, so despite wanting to roll over and sleep it away, I force myself to get up and dress instead. Somewhere between buying toothpaste and a few other groceries, I end up walking it off. Then I feel hungry. After stopping for breakfast, it hits me how much time has gone by. I hadn't expected to be out this long at all. I'm not even sure if I bothered to lock my door. I should really get back. When I get back to the dorm, I see Hideaki standing in front of my room from the entrance. I can think of few things more unexpected, and I can't help thinking I might have a heart attack just from the surprise. Fortunately, it doesn't happen. As soon as he sees me, he says hello in his usual detached way. I'm a little slow to reply to him, so he repeats the greeting without missing a beat. Hello. Is something wrong?
I'm just surprised to see you here.
Not as surprised as I could have been, since it's impossible to mistake him for anyone else. I'd recognize those weird clothes anywhere. Come to think of it, I've really surrounded myself with distinctive-looking people lately. Hideaki's head lolls slightly to one side a little too easily. Why? Is it unusual to see someone's family come to see them?
Well, yeah, actually.
So, Hideaki isn't such a robot after all. In fact, it's almost as if he's more caught off guard by the fact that he can even be caught off guard, but he recovers quickly. Nevertheless, in that brief moment, he looks his age. That uncomfortable side of his seems like the more honest, and I wouldn't mind seeing more of it. Not so much, though, that I'd go out of my way to pry. Only Shizune would be that zealous, that my thoughts get so far as proof she's rubbing off on me.
I'd think that you'd have a reason, that's all.
There is one.
See? Anyway, we can talk while we're looking for her. That's why you're here, right?
Shizune's in the student council room. I was looking for you. You might take a trip soon, a family trip. Do you think she would want to come with us?
Yeah, I don't know. She's kind of been on the warpath lately with a lot of stuff. And once she's focused on something, she just won't drop it. I guess you would know that.
Hideaki looks much more at ease walking around than I did my first week.
So this isn't your first time here?
Just throwing it out there. Of course, completely ignoring the surrounding environment could just run in the family. It'd explain why Hideaki seems so distant from Shizune. I get the feeling there's more to it than just her deafness. No, but this is the first time I could walk around so much. It is kind of weird here. I bumped into a person who told me women are not allowed in the dorms. After I told him I'm not a woman, he told me I was misleading and then accused me of being an assassin. I was warned that he was not only invincible, but strong enough to probably destroy the building with a punch, or at least knock over the painting hanging in the hallway. By the way, that painting is actually screwed to the wall.
Yeah, that's the guy across the hall from me. He's okay.
I see. Oh, you left your door open. It was unlocked when I came here. I'm a little annoyed that Hideaki knows that. The only way he could is if he had opened my door. But the feeling passes.
Doesn't matter. I have nothing to hide or steal.
Your soccer ball is really nice.
That's one of the things that doesn't matter.
If you're a soccer player, a soccer ball is very important. I guess it is. That's what makes me smile. I'm here because my father bought a new phone and he wanted to update Shizune in case she needs to call him. I thought that you should know too since you're her boyfriend, aren't you?
Yeah. Why?
Just in case there's something wrong or she needs anything. It isn't what I meant, but I'll go along.
Even if she did, she probably wouldn't call.
That is how she is.
Well, if you know. Coming all the way here for that, though. He could have updated her via email.
He does not like using emails.
That's so old-fashioned. Don't tell me he still does business through regular mail or something.
Silence. Now it's my turn to feel awkward. Is Hideaki taking it literally, or did I hit the mark? Nah, I'm sure that what it really comes down to is that he does want to see his daughter and stay in contact with her. In the end, they are still family after all. even though they play at being at each other's throats. The door to the student council room is open, and Hideaki and I walk in on Jigoro in mid-rant. He sees us but decides that it's not something worth stopping rambling at Shizune over. This is really shaking my faith in my previous assumption.
When I was in the student council, our room was smaller, colder too, like working out of a meat locker, not like you spoiled kids. But a waste, sitting here in your giant room doing nothing. There are only 3 of you? That makes having so many desks only seem like an unnecessary display of mindless decadence. Appalling! You must use the desks you need, not one more. It's part of my code.
It may be odd of me to think so, but hearing only one half of a conversation is pretty strange. Also, that's some code. Now that I've arrived, he changes the subject and starts talking about the reason he's here.
Hideaki and I are going on a trip. What are you doing? Does everyone who uses sign language mumble while they do it? No, but I'm just an amateur. It helps me think. It's kind of like force of habit. Just an amateur? Unbelievable. Fine.
He turns back to Shizune just in time to catch her shaking her head from side to side.
Are you sure you won't be coming along?
She reiterates the gesture.
Fine. Can you tell her to call me if she needs anything? Yes. I really think sending an email would have been easier though. I'm not going to read emails on my phone. If she won't speak, she can call Hideaki. Suppose if I have to be reached, she would have to call me, or that other girl would have to call me. Actually, all 3 of you can just call Hideaki.
And with that, he swiftly turns and leaves, Hideaki trailing behind him. A long trip for something that took 5 minutes. Neither of them can express their feelings very well. In Shizune's case, I have to question whether she would if she could. It explains a lot, but she doesn't seem unhappy with the arrangement. Even so, I wonder if she might be. When the door closes behind them, leaving Shizune and me by ourselves, she lets out a deep breath that seems to echo in the silence of the room. It's totally ridiculous asking me to go on a trip. The timing couldn't be worse. It overlaps the student council elections for one. Second, I haven't even cheered up Misha. If you consider that, it's annoying to even have anything else to think about.
Yeah, but you might be too focused on all that stuff right now.
Shizune adjusts her glasses roughly. Completely 100% right. The minute I decided I was going to cheer up Misha, everything else went on the back burner, I suppose.
I think your dad might care about you more than he lets on.
I know.
So then it could be a good idea.
No. And then again, more firmly as if for both of us. No. After coming this far, I can't take a break. A vacation would be jarring. It would be like waking up in a different life. Yesterday was like my vacation, so now we have to go all in. I'm sorry, but it's just how I am. I remember what Yuko said, that she found Shizune brave in a kind of way. I think I understand what she meant, and I have to agree. Even though it could also be called recklessness and foolishness and pointless stubbornness, I guess you could call it bravery too. However, I can see that there is a fundamental flaw in Shizune's thinking that I hadn't noticed until now. I'm sure that Shizune has reflected longer and more arduously than I could about where she messed up to create such a bad situation between her and Misha. However, as typical for her, she wouldn't let it hold her back and immediately set out to fix the problem. This completely ignores a large part of the problem herself. A large part of the problem, Misha herself. Moving from critical introspection to holding Misha up as part of a goal causes the person to get lost in the shuffle. Yes. Shizune has said a lot in the past few days, but nothing about how Misha feels. Shizune's way of thinking is abnormal. Few normal people would reject a friend and then expect things to go back to the way they were so easily. Shizune does because she sees life as, if I had to put it simply, capable of being segmented and compartmentalized. Misha, like anyone else, sees it as a whole experience, a long, continuous journey, where one moment of heartache can follow you forever. For Shizune, an event is an event, and few of them cross over. Life is compartmentalized around triumphs, failures, and decisions, where each one stands as its own story. It's why the thought of a vacation is jarring to her. It's why she can only appreciate people's immediate emotions. It's exactly how someone obsessed with living in the moment would think, really. Likewise, Shizune can see Misha as a friend, but I doubt that she's ever thought of Misha as anything more until recently, or questioned anything about her. Misha as Misha would be enough for her, even if to Misha it must be unbelievably stifling. Shizune is just Shizune to herself. It's likely she doesn't even think about the after effects of her actions in the long term, as long as they stir up other people's lives. To Misha, though, I'm sure it made her seem almost heroic, like Yuko admiring her bravery, and even myself. And Shizune's thoughts on that sentiment are that it was good she could touch someone's life. But it ends there. It's easy to captivate, much harder to nurture. On to the next thing. Thinking of life in terms of almost completely isolated events has a tendency to isolate a person too. Though she's trying to remedy it now, the point remains. There is simply no way Shizune could have avoided hurting Misha. Her emotional investment in Shizune was something Shizune could account for, so she didn't. Combined with her personality, it was inevitable. Both of them have pretty much told me all of that in bits and pieces over the past couple of months I've known them. In the middle of considering their differences, an idea begins to take shape in my mind.
Are you working on your plan right now? The second? Your cheer up Misha plan.
Of course, I was thinking about it the whole time I was being yelled at. Flicking her glasses up the bridge of her nose with an oddly triumphant air, she taps her finger against her temple. It's multitasking. Really? Isn't it more like you're able to concentrate on something like that because you can't hear? Well, whatever. When I ask her what she thinks of mine, it turns out we've both arrived at a similar idea. Although it makes me feel kind of uneasy since we're talking about a human being, the first step is to corner Misha. Though the situation is a little too much like something out of a cop drama for me, it's come to this because talking to her normally is proving to be near impossible. But we do have classes together, even the very first class of the day. Although it takes a while for the announcement to come, the second I hear that we're going to be working in groups today, Shizune and I try to make sure Misha is in ours.
You know, I think Muto assigns a suspiciously large amount of group work and self-study, don't you think so?
But it's easy, so it's okay, right?
Yeah, there's other stuff that I've been thinking about lately that might not be okay though.
Misha nods after each sentence, then brushes it all aside. I thought about it, and I don't do enough work when I work with you and Shi-chan, so I'm going to try harder today. So, don't distract me, Hi-chan. I have to stay focused. That was an annoyingly transparent dodge. Shizune doesn't look too happy either, since Misha didn't bother to sign any of it, opting to twirl a pen in her hands instead. From the shaky way she was doing it, I'm sure it was so she wouldn't sign anything inadvertently. From the way Misha looks distracted and uneasy, I doubt it's because she wants to keep Shizune out of the loop for any malicious reason, although it's still obviously a way of distancing Shizune from herself.
Shizune wants to talk to you.
Can't it wait until later, Hi-chan? No.
Why not now?
We're in the middle of class. Now she's spinning her pen in each hand. I'm beginning to think her signing has turned into a kind of nervous tic for her. This isn't a good replacement, although the sight of her dual wielding is pretty impressive. After class, then. After class, I don't waste a second bringing it back up. As everyone else files out of the classroom, leaving the three of us alone, Misha takes increasingly longer glances in every direction except forward.
Do you want to get something to eat?
Why do you and Shi-chan keep asking me if I want to eat something? Hi-chan?
Because we're all headed to the cafeteria and we haven't eaten together in a long time, so why not?
Is this about the student council? Taking Shizune's lack of reply as admission, Misha sighs. Shi-chan, is that all you ever think about? Before Shizune can reply, she leaves. I have to say, I'm not left feeling very confident after what's just happened. Neither of us were expecting it to go smoothly, but it would have been nice. Reading my mind, Shizune curls a finger around her glasses for a while before signing. I know what you're thinking, but no, it's not that I think we should give her some space now. I told you I wouldn't give up so easily.
Yeah, well, now I'm starting to wonder if it's not too soon.
Cold feet? Well, I'm not going to. That would be giving up on her. There's a fine line between helping someone and smothering them, but I just want Misha to pull herself together and stop acting so weird. I know she can do it. Even if she wants to try, people don't change overnight. If they could, the world would be a much easier place.
Okay, you win. And I guess this is the part where we split up and look for her. But I am the only one who's really supposed to find her.
If I run into her first, I'll call your cell phone. Smiling, Shizune takes out her cell phone, turning it on to prepare. I notice that she has an extremely high number of unread messages, and looking at her expression, so does she. Twirling it around by the strap a couple of times, she grimaces. I don't like using this thing. Why can't I just snap my fingers?
And then what? I'm not a dog. It doesn't travel as far as a phone signal. You're having a lot of fun with this, aren't you?
Shaking her head from side to side, she continues. It's obvious where she will go. You can't look for her in the school grounds. She'd want to go as far away as she can. Check the tea shop. It's usually empty this early. Misha loves to go there if she feels like skipping class, and she loves the parfaits they have there. You really know a lot about her, but she would overthink it and turn it into something that would seem a lot more backhanded than it actually is. So I choose to just nod and leave instead, until I feel her holding onto my sleeve.
What?
I say instinctively, forgetting that she can't hear me. It feels nice that I don't have to do it all by myself anymore because I can trust you. I'm really happy. It makes me happy to hear it. I can't think of a way to respond, and end up only nodding again. Heading outside, I catch a glimpse of pink hair behind some other girl's head, and as I head that way, I realize that this isn't the way you go if you want to leave school. It's the way to the student council room. If I wanted to avoid Shizune, I wouldn't head there. It's strange that Misha would be going in that direction then. Maybe she wants to talk things over with Shizune. In which case, I have to wonder if letting things play out naturally would be such a bad idea after all, especially if it seems to be going in a good direction. Suddenly, Misha stops and spins around, catching me by surprise. Surprise! Hi-chan, were you looking for me? I had a feeling.
I was going to say, hey, I was just looking for you, but I suppose that's no good now.
She isn't even finished with her sentence before she blows past me, heading for the exit. I have to admit that Misha is infuriatingly sharper than I'd expected, also surprisingly fast. Although it's more physical activity than I think I should be getting, I managed to catch up with her halfway to the gate.
You're really being the rudest woman in the world right now. Can you just stop trying to run away for 1 second? I want to talk to you.
Misha turns on her heel, looking mildly amused, and raises her hands as if to tell me to go on. Now that I've got her attention, though, it's hard to think of the right thing to say.
Where are you going now?
The Shanghai!
Can I go with you then?
Waiting for her to answer feels like an eternity. It's almost as if I can hear my wristwatch ticking off the individual seconds. Okay then, Hi-chan. I get the sense that she only agreed because she doesn't want to argue anymore today. When we get there, a couple comes in after us, causing Misha to jump slightly at the noise. Seeing that it isn't Shizune, she relaxes again, smiling almost as usual to order a parfait from Yuko and sliding into the nearest booth.
You ran off too fast. You could have at least waited to see what she was going to say.
Misha's angry reaction tells me that it could be that she was afraid of what Shizune might say. Why are you both doing this, Hichan?
Because Shizune still wants to be your friend. I guess that for her it's kinda like launching a nuclear missile from a submarine. You need 2 keys to do it. What else can she do, though?
She isn't automatically signing whatever she hears or says anymore, and I'm sure that is the reason Shizune's been having so much trouble with her.
If she just tried to talk it over, you wouldn't listen.
Misha's guilty expression tells me I've hit the mark.
Do you really hate Shizune that much?
No, Hichan. I told you that. She answers without even flinching, idly playing with a spoon.
Yeah, I know. I'm sure she knows it too, but I'm wondering if it might be easier if you did. The only thing she's really thought about for the last week is how to make you happy, since Shizune is still attached to you. Yesterday, though, she thought that maybe it would be easiest for you if you just hated her. Since you didn't tell her you hate her, Shizune thinks that you can both still be friends. She's like that, only thinking in extremes.
The parfait is starting to melt, the ingredients coming together in tiny rivers that remind me of the growing roots of a tree being shown through time-lapse photography. That's stupid. Hichan isn't that stupid, Hichan. Don't be ridiculous.
It's got nothing to do with intelligence. Smart people can do stupid things. And anyway, isn't it true? I was terrified last week when we talked, but at the end, I was relieved because it sounded like things might go back to normal. I wasn't expecting you to have a fight right after. I wasn't expecting you two to have a fight right after.
It wasn't a fight, Hichan. It was just me yelling at her. I've noticed that Misha's voice never really changes in tone, just volume. It's so low with guilt that I can hardly believe it came from her.
Either way, I was happy because I thought you and her could still be friends, since she needs you.
No, she doesn't, Hichan.
So, how do you know that? There are a lot of things Shizune doesn't.
Vocalize? Say? Talk about? I'm afraid if I say the wrong thing, it'll ruin the mood. I get to finally have a conversation with her and I don't want to screw it up. I wonder if this is the first time she's had an honest conversation with me.
Just because she didn't tell you doesn't mean she doesn't like you.
That doesn't make sense.
Yes, it does. Otherwise, she would argue back. You don't think so? She picks fights with everyone, so why not you? Obviously because you're her friend and she values you. And Shizune's hurt too. She's just awful at showing her feelings. Usually does it the wrong way too. But she still likes you.
Hichan, do you remember when I said I didn't want to hate Hichan or upset her? The truth is, I ended up doing both. Now it's like there's, an awkwardness between us. It's hard to explain.
Both of you are so stubborn. You're talking about how you didn't want to drift apart from Shizune, but then you were going to let it happen. And Shizune's just as bad. She wants to be your friend, but respects you too much to be as aggressive as she'd be with anyone else.
And I'm sure that Misha interprets Shizune giving her space as a lack of caring. I screwed up already, Hichan. It'll happen again, I'm sure. When I think about it that way, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. It feels like either way, I'll end up making things worse. Then it might be better if I don't do anything at all, right?
Don't be ridiculous. Why would you even think that way in the first place? Be more positive.
It should be easy for you, I want to say, but that would be presumptuous. Yi-chan, I never knew you were so optimistic. I never expected it. You always act so gloomy when I try and surprise you.
No, this is a recent thing, really. I just hate it when people give up easily now.
Now, huh?
It makes me mad when people give up. I used to think that giving up was kind of like running away, since that's how people always describe it, but now that I think about it, it's usually more like throwing something away. When you run away from something, you can think of it as still being there, so I was in the hospital and I just didn't just want to run away from my problems, I wanted to never think about them again.
Misha eats a spoonful of her great ice cream goo. Did she only just remember it was there now, or could it be she likes it that way?
Anyway, my point is that you can't do that. People are too sentimental to just throw their memories out like that. It's impossible. Shizune can't think of life in terms of anything but winning and losing. Don't you think she wishes she didn't have to remember the parts where she loses? You can't pick and choose, though. That's like wanting to live in a bubble. The worst part is, your way of thinking is so wasteful. It's making you so pessimistic, you're afraid of everything. Come on.
I grab her hand as I wave Yuko over with the other to pay for our food. Where are we going now?
Back to school before lunch is over, but I want to check out a few places before then.
Although I start feeling tired even after doing what could be described as on the level of a brisk jog at best, Misha and I eventually make it to the gate of the school with a little over 10 minutes to spare.
I didn't even want to really come to the school, you know. I didn't have a choice. When I got to this gate, I'm sure a part of me was thinking, what a depressing place. It doesn't look depressing at all, though. Well, I still thought I had everything figured out. I felt practically like another person. If I could go back and tell myself to stop thinking he can write everything off at a glance and acting like his life is already over and that he can never have fun again.
The school grounds are still littered with quite a few people. It's lunchtime, so it's typical.
This is where you and Shizune had me helping you put together 2 festivals. What a lot of hard work. I thought, I don't have time for this. When I look back on it, though, I didn't do all that much. I also didn't have anything better to do. I'd have just spent the time alone.
I drag her to her homeroom next, which is empty except for Muto trying to eat a sandwich before classes resume.
Every time I thought of either of you, I wished you would leave me alone, whether it was here or...
Leaving Muto to his lunch, we head for the nearby vending machine and I grab a soda while I still have 5 minutes to drink it. I have spent an entire lunch period with Misha, longer than both Shizune and I have managed to find to talk to her in days.
Following me to the cafeteria or trying to corner me after half my classes. I never realized we only talked like 4 times. It really was all in my head. I only barely realized it now.
I remember that, Hee-chan. But I know where all of these places are, too.
Wait, let me finish my guided tour, since we're running out of time. By the way, do you want a soda?
Making our way to the stairwell, I'm glad that I don't have to pull her by the hand anymore.
You get dizzy on stairs, right?
Yeah.
I guess just here is good enough then.
I lean against the wall as Misha sits down on the steps across from me.
Do you ever miss the people you went to school with in elementary school or middle school?
No.
That was fast. She didn't even have to think about it. I find myself cringing reflexively. I had more friends in my old school, but I don't talk to them anymore. It almost feels like that was another lifetime ago, which is sad, really. Sometimes I want to talk to them again, but I know I can't. I'm scared and embarrassed, things like that. They're too far away for me to go see them. Then I think about calling them, but I don't know most of their numbers. And I left on a sour note, so why would they want to see me again? It feels like I should just forget about it, but I still think about it anyway and regret that I didn't try harder to stay in touch somehow. And I start to think that maybe feeling like I should forget about it is wrong. It would be an insult to all those people I had fun with, and a waste of all the good times. Like I said before, even if there are some bad times too, it's alright if you can look back on them as happy memories. but I didn't even think about it then. So it was like I woke up one day and realized I had no friends. I just let myself lose all my friends, and it felt awful. I'd really hate it if you and Shizune ended up the same way. That's all.
That's all.
Makes me sad to think that you'll do the same thing and push away your friend. Especially because you're not far away from Shizune. I mean, you even live in the same dorm.
Friend? Aren't you my friend too? Hichan?
Yeah. You slept through all of it, but the fireworks were really nice way back at the festival. My first time seeing fireworks like that. And my first time really seeing the sky in a while. And I'd never really looked at the stars before then either.
I had thumbed through a book about them while I was in the hospital though, and learned a lot. Like that the stars aren't just burning, they're more like a constant chain of explosions, so far away that some of the stars I'd be seeing would have been burnt out for thousands of years already. It's that their light would only just then be reaching Earth. I saw a mock-up comparing the size of the planet to our sun, and then that to other suns. Japan wasn't even visible on the tiny Earth in that book.
You know what I'd never realized?
He looks at me expectantly.
They're amazingly shiny. It's true.
Why are you doing this, Hichan?
Doing what?
I'm not stupid.
I don't know. A bunch of reasons. Because you're Shizune's friend, and I liked how close you were, and maybe I'm trying to tell you that we all have our low points, but giving up is stupid. Anyway, it seems worth the trouble.
That's the only reason?
And you're my friend.
That's it?
Can't I do something for no reason?
You can, but I want to know.
Well, what else do you want to hear?
The bell rings before Misha can reply, so she ends up laughing instead. I see less of Misha in the following days, but I don't worry because when I do see her, she looks a bit more like her old self each time. Once it's clear enough that I don't have to be afraid of it being my wishful thinking coloring my perceptions, I start to relax again. I wake up very early and feeling sick on Sunday. I went to sleep too early last night too. Something's also wrong with my curtains and they won't close completely. Because of that, I can't even attempt to go back to sleep. The sun hits me in the eyes every time. I'm sure this is probably why I woke up so early this morning as well. Being this sick and tired is a perfect storm of frustration. I'm almost glad when there's a knock at the door. It's a familiar person holding an almost completely eaten apple in his hand. Taking one bite, he attempts to shoot it in my trash can and misses completely, and it smashes apart on the wall 2 meters too high. To be fair, most of the pieces afterwards do manage to fall into the trash can, but I'm pretty sure that no one is so brazen that they would be aiming to do something like this on purpose.
Perfect shot. Sup, roomie? I'm not your roomie, we don't live in the same room. It doesn't matter. It does. You should at least know the difference between living in the same building and living in the same room. I need to use your room. For what?
I messed up. I should have said absolutely not.
The student council keeps delivering my mail even though I asked them to put it in my locker or something. But they keep putting it under my door, delivering my mail without me noticing it, so today I'm lying in wait to catch them in the act, like a detective or a safari hunter. I need to chill in your room for today and look through like a little peephole, or I won't be able to catch them in the act. And maybe tomorrow too. It'll be awesome. We'll get pizza on both days. Or should we get pizza on just one day and something else on the other day? But what? And which day is pizza day? Not today. Never. You know, I'm in the student council. Why didn't you just ask me about this?
If he had, I would have been able to find it very easily and wouldn't have had to have Kenji in my room. It's win-win, except I guess this way he might be able to get a pizza out of me. I start thinking that maybe that was Kenji's intention. But no, I doubt it. There's no way he could plan something that elaborate.
You know, When they deliver mail? Well, no. They just hand me my mail when I go to student council usually. The point is, I could find out by asking them. Then I'd know and I could tell you. That's how people find things out. By asking. Not cavemen. Oh yeah, no response to that? Checkmate. Use your own people. What if they see me? They can't. That's how peepholes work. It's like a one-way glass. For real? Well, no way. They'll be expecting me to be in my room anyway. They'll sense my presence and know I'm there. They'd never expect me to actually be in the room across the hall. I'm going to go to the student council room and go get your mail for you right now. Then I guess I can't let you leave. That's dumb. What if I have to use the toilet? Your games won't work on me.
I sit down at my desk and start doing my homework for the weekend.
You know, you're going to have to leave eventually, so you can't stay here forever or keep me here forever. I mean, this is my room to start with. Yeah, I don't think I can. What time's the mail usually come? Now. Why are women so slow? Why do you care so much about the mail anyway? Are you expecting something? I'm always expecting something. Not today, though. Do you want them to send something? Do you even send mail? Nope. That's how they get you. I haven't used the mail since I was 8. Sent a letter to Lego asking them to make Dragon Ball Legos. They said they couldn't get the rights and gave me some coupons. Totally worth it, but after that I made sure to stay off the radar. You don't use mail, do you? I wrote to my parents last week. But that's how they get you! Yes, I should have known. Maybe that's why they put that microchip in me the next day. So, the rumors were true.
I'd like to know what rumor mill he got that from.
I was kidding. It's a joke. Joke? Damn, you would joke on me? Guess this is how it feels to have jokes cracked on. I never thought it'd happen to me. This is a serious issue. Man, I think you are not appreciating the depths of my dilemma. It's a work in many acts, complicated acts with many players. It's really hard, okay? After I'm done, I'm gonna eat a whole fish to celebrate. Shoot, I wanted a pizza though. I still want pizza. Can I get fish on the pizza? Do they do that now? You're going to be paying for it. You still haven't paid me back, and I'm not hungry right now anyway. Not in the mood for pizza? That's just not possible, son. It's gotta be pizza anyway. I'm in the pizza stage of my life. Before I was in an ice cream stage, but my girlfriend kept eating all the strawberry out of my Neapolitan. It'll probably happen to you too.
It's hard to tell if he's serious half the time. I can only see his expression when he's not nose deep in my door.
I doubt that. You know that I do have a girlfriend, right? Not Iwanako either. The student council president, actually. Old news. What? Seriously? I have my sources. Anyway, it dawned on me that I'd gotten fat from all that ice cream. It was a rude awakening, like sleeping on a beach and getting hit by a wave that destroys your sandcastle. I started running. Had to lose the pounds, but maybe I was really running away from myself.
A sudden and continuous knocking causes him to leap backwards far enough to hit the door all the way behind him. I take the opportunity to walk over and open the door. Good morning. What's up?
I hear if you salt the doorway, they can't enter uninvited. I'm not going to put salt in my doorway. But you're considering it. Good. Good morning. Are you here to deliver the mail?
Nodding, Shizune waves a couple envelopes between our faces. I take them from her, freeing up her hands for conversation. How did you know? How did you know? You were hiding it behind your back in a really obvious way.
Hiding what? The mail.
It's okay, I wasn't trying very hard to hide it in the first place.
That's not like you. You're the type of person who'd go anything worth trying is worth trying hard. Girls taking initiative? And what about me? I've been using that phrase for years. Where's my parade dog? I spit literary gold and you women just steal it and wear it out like a 2-for-1 sundress. You're like the Picard to my Kirk. Or you could even be Janeway.
Not all the time. Are you making fun of me? Finally noticing Kenji, she gives him a wave.
Hey Kenji, the student council president says hi. Hi.
Introduce me. I have no idea what he was saying, but it looked confident. Oh yes, no one is better at saying that kind of stuff confidently.
I already did. I even introduced you by title. This is Kenji. He's the guy across the hall. His room is right behind you. Anyway, do you have his mail too?
I'm only delivering your mail because it was there. I have early access. It's all about location. Consider it as a perk of being in the student council.
Doesn't sound very fair. She takes a lot of liberties with her position. At least they're small ones.
This is the first time I've really been able to see your room.
It's a blatant lie, or she'd have signed it much faster. I'm sure Shizune remembers that it's not the first time.
Why does he get to see your room and I can't? Is it a guy thing?
It's not a secret club being a guy. It should be, with rings with big-ass emblems, and gold.
Are you sure? Are you really sure? I always thought that there was a secret brotherhood of men.
Why is she ignoring me? Let me tell her about the guy club. Also, what's with the hand signals? Is she trying to hex me or something? No, stay out of this. I'll have to translate anything you say to her, and I'm not sure if I could even handle it. And she'll probably misunderstand it, and you'll probably misunderstand the reply, and I'll have to translate your rebuttal. Rebuttal? Why would I rebut? I like my butt.
What is he saying?
He says he has no rebuttal.
Rebuttal to what? I haven't even begun to challenge him yet. I don't like the way she put that, so it appears that she wants to. But about what? It doesn't matter, since it wouldn't end well.
Don't pick fights where there are none.
I have never met your friends. Why can't I? It looks like he's being passionate.
I suppose with the way he's flailing around, it would be stupid to expect Shizune to think otherwise. Anyway, I'd better change the subject.
Not that it would likely work on her, but I'm sure that she has to have come here for a reason other than to just drop my mail off. If it was something that tiny, she wouldn't have even bothered knocking.
You didn't come here just to give me my mail or chat up my friends, did you?
Shizune snaps her fingers in mock frustration. It's as cringe-inducingly loud as ever. You're right. Let's go somewhere again.
Do you have somewhere in mind already?
You're right again. Let's go to the usual place. She whips out a bag of neatly wrapped containers from just outside the doorframe. I'm guessing they're filled with food, and this time it doesn't look store-bought. Setting it down between her feet, she continues.
Is that for me?
This was the real surprise, see? I have to have something over at everyone. I have to have something over everyone at the very end.
I agree in the way people normally do when someone makes a statement in front of them that tells more than they meant to tell. Well, fine, if you're both going to ignore me, I'm out of here. So cruel. You'll regret this.
Not long afterwards, we find ourselves on the school roof. Is it normally deserted at this time? On a nice day like this? On the weekend? No, of course not. I can only think that it's because of Shizune, not that clearing out a roof would require anything more than posting a sign on the door. The empty plastic containers Shizune had packed our meal in lie next to me. It was another quiet meal, since holding chopsticks prevents us from saying much to each other. While it's not blowing hard enough to be a problem, the wind is a little strong today. It blows the plastic bag loose from under the empty containers as it whips out around for... whips around for a bit before rolling over my legs and getting caught on the tip of Shizune's shoe. Immediately she grabs it and starts signing, not happy that I'm laughing at her, even though she's trying not to let her laugh herself. With the bag in the way, however, she has to eventually sit on it to continue. Very funny. How was it?
The food? It tasted familiar.
That means it was bad.
No. I remember eating this exact meal before when you made it.
Not exactly the same. The fried shrimp was new. It's the only thing I know how to make, but I should have improved.
How many times have you made it before?
This is the second time.
Making this particular meal?
Cooking. Next time it's your turn to try it. The way she keeps tugging on the corner of the bag is bothering me. I think I know why she's doing it.
Is it really bothering you that much? Bugging you that much?
I want to pack them up properly.
It's okay, I'll get them.
As I'm picking them up, I realize she must have brought a lot of food to be able to fill all these containers. I didn't even eat much. Shizune must have some metabolism in order to pack all that away. Even though I've only been up for a second, it's long enough to stupidly trip over my own feet. Barely managing to break my fall, I end up landing on my elbows and knees right next to Shizune's lap. As I pull myself back up, hand gingerly held on my chest, all I can think about is how my knees hurt and how this fall could have killed me. I feel nauseous. Shizune gives me a helpful push on my shoulder to help me upright, though I notice her eyeing me oddly. Unfortunately, even a light shove is enough to take me by surprise. Are you okay? I nod, but we don't return to sitting beside each other. Naturally, being alone with Shizune is going to involve a lot of silence, but I only start to notice it now. The typical sign of awkwardness. Again, she's the one to break the ice. I was expecting you to try something dirty. And now the mood is back to awkward. How's Misha? Misha seems happier now, back to her old self. I thought this would be a good way to celebrate and to thank you for helping her. Her hand stumbles a bit. We're a bit on the last word. You think too much like a businesswoman. I can't help it. It's how I've been taught to do things. It makes me happy that you're asking about Misha. It would be more accurate to say back to her real self. She would only be back to her old self to you. The Misha you know is completely different from the one I think of. When I think of the first time we met, even though I think she looks better, cheerful and smiling, that isn't how she typically is. I wonder if it's true for you too? I don't answer.
Well, if Misha's happy, then it doesn't matter. If it worked out in the end. Your plan worked. You knew her just as well as you said. You knew everything she would say. If your idea was just that I'd speak for you, though, doesn't that just make me your puppet? I didn't do anything then.
Not true. It was your idea first. I was wrong. I have a way of seeing things that is very flawed now that I've thought about it. I'm sure you know. Sometimes I treat everything like a competition between myself and everyone else, even when it doesn't make sense to. Sometimes. I know very well how easy it is to ignore someone if they can only communicate with you through sign. I should have asked for help, but I was so sure I could do it on my own. It was actually a brave thing you did, even if you won't take credit for it. Aside from that, you've really become kind of admirable lately. It's strange having her compliment me while her facial expression hasn't changed in the slightest. But people don't change so easily, according to you, am I right? She winks, clearly enjoying herself very much.
Does Misha tell you everything?
Almost everything.
I guess you're going to tell me that I'm wrong about that, aren't you?
Yes and no. I'm the one who told Misha that before anyone else, but she took it too far and changed the meaning. It's not easy, but she acts like that makes it impossible. It's possible if you go little by little. I'm considering trying to be less competitive.
But you enjoyed that, though.
Maybe just a little. That's why I specifically used less. She leans against the fence. I have things I want to say to her, but it doesn't seem like the right time for it somehow. It's a feeling I have. I can tell she isn't done just yet. A lot of people think I try too hard. Well, I've always thought that I try to try just enough. The sound the fence makes as she pushes against it, the delicate clink of her sleeve button scraping against the links, are oddly soothing. So is the breeze gently picking up behind me. I can hear people below us. Shizune's eyes dart below us as well, and I wonder if she still thinks about what she might be missing out on. The attention-grabbing way she tends to snap her fingers proves she has an understanding of how the people perceive sound. It must be odd, being able to understand that much, but unable to experience it yourself. She starts walking slowly around the perimeter of the roof, still scraping her buttons against the fence. It isn't rhythmic at all, though not for a lack of trying. I sort of zone out in thought while she does, and am rudely snapped out of it when she circles around completely and taps me on the shoulder. Do you remember what we were talking about?
When? Now? Of course, it just happened.
It's been almost 10 minutes. When I first saw you, you seemed like you were very attached to the idea of feeling sorry for yourself. That stings, even if it is true. Sorry. It made me want to cheer you up at first sight. I was scared it would be for nothing, though. I couldn't help thinking it would be hard to change your mind. But you did. I thought that was very surprising, and also that you might be kind of easily influenced. Still, I was surprised. It made me reconsider a lot of things, like that maybe everything was worth it in the end.
Everything?
That's why I like you. I see.
It's nice to finally know. And remember, you have to take this job seriously. Too many people think you can just slack off and that isn't important. That it isn't important. That is a dangerous way of thinking.
Definitely, you can't take it too seriously if you aren't always thinking big, thinking positive, and if you show any signs of weakness, people will start to think you're incompetent, you know? And soon, you won't be able to do anything because your power is going to be delegated off to others piece by piece, and you'll be left with nothing. That's what happened last time. So, remember, it may seem like an easy job, but a lot of carnage can happen in this room. And out of it, dealing with school staff too. Even trying to get a budget report from a class rep can be a fight to the death sometimes.
Yeah, it's kill or be killed. There are no friends in the pits and you take no prisoners. Are you sure about this? Is this right?
You don't seem excited enough. I have to make sure it's getting through properly. Once more, with feeling. Shizune twists her hands like a maestro for emphasis, visibly intimidating the two girls standing at attention in front of us. To think this all started because one of them asked if she wasn't taking her job too seriously. Do you understand?
Do you understand? Pretend I'm shouting it.
Oh, okay. The student council is so weird. Yes, sir.
Sir? Who are you guys talking to anyway?
It's not weird. You have to think of it as a job. If you want, think of it like they're paying you with the right to use this great office.
You want another lecture?
No. You can go now. Just like that, the hour-long student council orientation is over. Personally, I thought it was about 15 minutes too long, and I also found it funny that it incorporated a tour of a school that we've all been going to for a while, but I guess it didn't hurt. I expect Shizune to fall back into her chair since she's been on edge all day, but she doesn't. She continues pacing the room restlessly. They still have a long way to go. Right now they're a joke.
What?
They think they can be the new student council. They're so unfocused. You can really see the lack of experience. This was our best year yet. I don't think they have what it takes to be our follow-up act. And I know there are more of them than those two girls. Where are they? They're like the heavily marketed but mediocre, big-budget, critically panned sequel to the acclaimed low-budget sleeper hit. Eventually, she does stop and sit down.
Are you going to miss it?
Obviously. I'd be happier if I didn't have to leave too. I like being in the student council, even if it can be tiring too.
Yeah, it's definitely tiring.
Only because Shi-chan is always trying to do more than she has to. You're forgetting that if I did the bare minimum, we wouldn't do anything all year except hand out flyers, collect surveys, and plan the next student council election so the next student council can sit around for another year of doing nothing. Asking me to let that happen? Don't be ridiculous. In a student council like that, there wouldn't be any power to play around with. I'm just happy that even though I clearly need to ride them harder, those two aren't bad. Not there yet, but the new student council should be in good hands.
How can you tell?
After the festival, they asked me if we could also organize a Halloween event, like a haunted house or something along those lines. They had a bunch of other ideas as well. Of course, my response was no. I had Misha tell them to do it themselves if they wanted it so badly. They were angry for some reason.
Of course they'd be angry if you said that.
And Misha delivering the message wouldn't help. I was angry too. All of a sudden, they want so much. If they want a haunted house, or a traditional style cafe, or a trip to the beach, or whatever other cliche thing, why didn't they try to organize it before? It was like they were taking advantage of me. I worked hard to organize those festivals, and in return they came to me with, "That was nice, but can you do this now? How about doing this? It's what I really want." Chi-chan was wrong though. Right. They wanted to join the student council so they could make it happen. I made them feel jealous and riled them up. That can be a kind of motivation too. The desire to do something great spreads, even if it's to show me up. They decided to take me up on the challenge nonetheless. I'm impressed. Well, for now. I have to see how it plays out a little longer in order to know for sure. She snaps her fingers suddenly, which sends Misha almost vaulting out of her seat. Interesting. I guess it is impossible to get used to. That's right. We're going to have a party to celebrate passing the reins to the new student council, weren't we? Why not have that now? Or at least plan it now and have it tomorrow?
But they're not even in charge yet. In fact, that's the first thing you told them. You're not in charge yet. It seems premature.
Misha, what do you think? I agree it's too early, but plus, I don't think I could go anyway. Sorry. In fact, I was going to leave right now. Why not? No comment. Come on, tell me. Well, okay. Way not to crack under pressure, Misha. I thought of... Oh, sorry, I think I missed. And even if I didn't want to go, I would say yes. Usually, it's the kind of person I am. I really should stop doing that. And this is a good place to start, I think. If it's a celebration to say goodbye, I don't want it. It would be too sad. I want to do something else instead. And after all, Chi-chan, you and Chi-chan will still be here tomorrow. It doesn't seem right. Besides, I have other school things I have to do today. I can't drop them just like that. We can postpone it. No early goodbyes. She looks very firm as she says this.
Aren't you going to go now, though?
Oh, that's right. Okay, besides now, no too early goodbyes, okay?
I get it.
Okay, later. With that, it's just Shizune and me left alone in the student council room. Sunset slowly changes to night as we sit in silence, both searching for something to say. Would it really be that bad?
Yeah, I didn't think about it like that, but Misha's right. Party set a mood, and it would be a sad one. A sad party doesn't sound like a whole lot of fun.
Why would it be sad?
Is that a trick question? I'm sure of it. Shizune's eyes pierce into mine, waiting for my answer with a detached, analytical stare that I haven't seen in a while, but feels familiar anyway. I consider my answer carefully, but also what it means for her to ask me. It could be that Shizune finds it depressing as well, or it could be that she doesn't understand why anyone would find it depressing. Both are equally plausible. I had a thought that when you graduate, that's it. It's going to be the end of the student council. I was wondering if you had the same idea.
Don't be stupid. I look forward to it. I won't be a student anymore, so the expectations are going to be completely different. People's expectations of me, and my expectations about everything else. It seems exciting. As for the student council, it should be in good enough hands. I don't have anything to be sad about.
I don't think you're being honest. You looked upset about having to give the student council up not a few weeks ago. It wasn't about leaving it to a bunch of newbies either. It was having to stop doing student council work at all.
Unexpectedly, Shizune smiles.
So you're not disagreeing? Then it doesn't make sense. Why would you want to have a party about it?
I'm trying to get over it. Besides, goodbye celebrations are very important. People say the first step is the most crucial, but following it through and finishing cleanly are just as important, right?
I guess that is true.
Anyway, I don't consider it goodbye, but it's still an event. You still have to go through the proper motions. Aren't you going to?
Aren't I going to what?
Kiss me, of course.
Is that the proper motions?
It would be normal, wouldn't it? The natural thing to do. It's time to act decisively. If I don't, I'm sure my heart will explode. I kiss her immediately, so quickly that I don't even have time to enjoy it. Even though she was prepared for it, Shizune blushes a deep red. I feel a similar heat rising in my neck and cheeks. Don't worry, I'm off stream. I'm off stream, and I'm pretty sure that nothing raunchy's gonna be shown. I just had to make sure. I move in for another kiss, but as I do so, she moves backwards at the same time and impishly jumps onto the cabinet behind her. Alone in the total silence of the room, we just look at each other for a while. Gosh! Closes my eyes! No, it's okay. No, it's okay. Nothing's gonna happen. Just kidding. Just kidding. This time, I kiss her more deeply. Her lips are light and dry and open a tiny bit. I'm only able to appreciate the sensation for a moment before Shizune starts kissing me back forcefully. The bangs brush against my closed eyelids as I let myself sink deeper into the kiss. I can feel the shape of her body through her clothes, which only makes me hold Shizune tighter. It takes some effort for the both of us to draw back from each other. We're both blushing, both from the kiss and thoughts of what's to come, but I'm far from the only one breathing a little heavier. As Shizune begins to take off my tie, I start undoing her blouse. It takes a while to figure it out. I'd never really thought about how our school's blouses work before. Shizune's blouse is a little tight on her, and her arms get stuck for a moment because of it. I find myself peeling it off her, although with the way she's trying to wriggle out of it at the same time, it isn't easy. The sight is a little comical. Yes. The background. Yo! Once Shizune's arms are free, she slides out of her shirt, her skirt falling around her knees. I'm good. It's okay, because we are TOS friendly. The skirt falling around her knees with it after she unhitches it and works it off her legs. The only thing covering her now are her bra and panties. Her figure is curvaceous and taut, and the healthy color of her skin contrasts with the black of her underwear. It's a wonderful sight, especially against the background of the moonlight through the window. You guys are doing this, but the window's open? Oh, what if someone sees? This is so scandalous. In the student council room, no less. She looks at my chest and works the buttons of my shirt one by one. The process is greatly slowed by my hands moving up and down her thighs. It's a little amusing to play with her like this. Eventually, finally, my shirt falls to the ground. Shizune surprises me by quickly pulling in for a deep kiss without warning, but I quickly return the gesture. Why are you bolder today than on the roof? Or in your room? I tried to think of a good answer, but it isn't easy. How would I be able to respond to that even if I could? There's no way to, even unless I were to say that bureaucracy really puts me in the mood. My shirt having been disposed of, Shizune moves onto my belt, and I decide to help her undo it instead of answering her question. I don't think it would do much good to her at this point. It's not hard to get off and fall to the ground with a metallic clunk. I move in for another kiss and begin to slide my hand up her side, but she suddenly lurches forward, making me stumble backward. The stiff edge of the table behind me was the furthest thing from my mind until I feel it stabbing into my lower back. I hadn't even noticed it was there. It makes me grab Shizune a little tighter as we fall back onto the surface of the table. Oh look, melons. The fact that they're pulsing is so hilarious. Guys. Maybe I should have covered the screen a little bit. Sorry. Whoops. I notice a dull, hot throbbing in my chest as I button my shirt back up. It puts a bad aftertaste on everything that just happened. God. Okay, covers up. Yo, tachiri kinshi. I have to be polite to my girl Shizune, who is out here in the nude. I thought this was supposed to be friendly. Okay, let's go on. It was a lucky break that Misha couldn't be here, wasn't it?
You're in an unusually joking mood today. I wonder what she had to do.
Shizune traces the air lazily with a finger and points to the door. She's still naked. Put something on. Put something on, sweet. Go see for yourself.
Why don't you just tell me?
It's more interesting if you see for yourself. Seeing is believing.
Sure, clever. Maybe I will. What about you? Are you going to stay here all day? It's getting late.
It feels like my last day as student council president, so maybe I'll sleep here tonight. It could be the last chance I have to sleep at my desk, like after a long day trying to meet a deadline.
That's weird. I'll sleep in my bed.
Sleeping sitting up is a skill, a very useful one.
Right.
Shizune, how could you not put on clothes? I mean, I get why she wouldn't put on clothes, but also... I should have known. I should have known that something like this would come up. It's alright, you guys have seen a naked girl before. Yeah? For a moment after I leave the room, I actually do consider seeing what Misha's up to, just because Shizune made it sound so secretive, as if she were building a time machine or something. But in the end, I decide not to. The night air is pleasant at this time of year. It's refreshing and a little humid, but not so chilly as to make it uncomfortable to stay outside for a while. It's late enough for the courtyard to be all but deserted too. After Shizune and I said our farewells to each other, I'd set out to return to my dormitory room. I didn't even make it all the way there, though, before getting distracted. It doesn't seem like a bad idea to go see what Misha's up to. I have nothing better to do, no homework, I'm out of anything worth reading. On top of that, I simply want to know. This isn't my first time being in the main building after hours, but usually it's as I'm leaving the place with Shizune and Misha after a long day at the student council, not entering it alone. The atmosphere is quiet, a word I would not normally use to describe these halls. It's a little creepy. A light starts flickering up ahead. This seems like a horror movie moment waiting to happen. Feeling a hand on my shoulder, I stiffen reflexively. It's not Misha, or else there would be hands clamped over my eyes and a sing-song Guess Who accompanying them. So who is it? I hope it's not Kenji, or at least that it's someone I know, or this will take a turn for the weird. Whoever it is quickly slips in front of me. It's Shizune.
What are you doing here?
I'm so relieved that I forget to sign it. Shizune puts a finger up to her lips. I guess even though she can't hear, she has some idea of what loudness is, and can tell from my expression that I was being loud. And apparently being loud isn't a good thing right now. But then, why is Misha her interpreter?
Oh, very funny. Why are you here?
I was waiting for you to come see. I knew you would show up. It took you a while, though.
You've been waiting here?
Yes, but that isn't important. We have to be stealthy if we don't want Misha to detect us. If we don't want Misha to detect us, tell me if I'm not being stealthy enough, okay? With that, Shizune starts slowly tiptoeing through the middle of the hall. I pat her on the shoulder losing language ability. I pat her on the shoulder to get her attention.
That's not stealthy.
Why do we have to be stealthy? She refuses to answer, probably because signing and walking stealthily at the same time doesn't look easy. Before I know it, we're in front of our homeroom. Suddenly, a sound like the crack of a whip pierces the air, followed by a familiar expression of frustration. I'm sure a sound like that isn't good for my heart, not to mention everything sounds about 1,000,000 times louder with how silent it is. That's coming from inside the room, and I sidle up to Shizune to get a look inside.
Can you stop throwing your pencil, please? How do you even throw a pencil that loudly?
He looks very flustered. What an understatement. I was able to hear Misha's pen break the sound barrier even through a wall in a thick classroom door. It probably blew out his eardrums and left an imprint on the wall. I'm not throwing it. When I get nervous, I like to spin it around, but then I forget I'm holding onto it and...
It doesn't matter. Either way, there shouldn't be pencils flying around. I get enough of that during regular school hours. I don't need it after hours.
Right, sorry.
Whatever, just stop throwing or releasing or dropping things, please. Teachers have work too.
I notice she's now watching the same scene as I am. Muto is yelling at the top of his lungs and Misha is being Misha. I can hear them reasonably well through the door, but Shizune obviously can't hear anything at all, so I wonder what watching this is like for her. I must know since she understands well enough to want me to see it too, but I have to wonder if she ever feels like she's missing out on something, having to work that much harder to understand what she's observing. It looks like she's taking supplementary lessons, is she?
Yeah.
I answer despite knowing the question is completely rhetorical.
Misha told...
wrong person. Misha told me she really wants to be a sign language teacher in the future. If she can get a recommendation, she can study overseas for it. That is why she's working so hard. Her grades were always kind of on the low side.
No, I feel guilty. I haven't even thought about what I'm going to do yet.
Neither have I. The cheerful way that she signs it is very unlike her and is very obviously false. Let's get out of here. We don't want to be seen. It would be a problem if we were caught standing out here like idiots.
Where, the student council room?
Shaking her head, she slips into the classroom across the hall instead.
Great hiding place.
You're unusually sarcastic lately. With the door closed, it's a good one. Anyway, wasn't it interesting?
Yes, but I'm not really surprised.
I close the door behind us, prompting Shizune to laugh soundlessly as she slides into a chair. For a second, it depresses me. I want to hear her real laugh. I've been looking down on Misha. I didn't think she had a goal at all. But it turns out that I was wrong. I made a careless assumption. I thought Misha was as aimless as I was. I was stupid. I lost. Shizune pauses to crack her knuckles, then folds her hands over each other and leans forward in her chair. In the abnormal quiet of the building, I can hear Muto yelling at Misha again, even across a hallway and through 2 doors. Shizune's eyes are locked on mine, unblinking behind the gleaming lenses of her glasses, observing my reaction to her words. This is a test. Her opinion of people is rarely formed from how they respond to questions. It's how they respond to statements that counts. In hindsight, it makes sense. Shizune's inability to speak, as well as just her personality in general, means anything she says is a big commitment on her part. Everything. For that reason, I sometimes doubt she says anything without a hidden agenda behind it. That sounds remarkably paranoid. Even Kenji would think so. Unfortunately, I'm so caught up in thinking about it that I forget to give her an answer. She takes it as there not being one. There was an invisible time limit to this test, shorter than usual. Just as I thought.
What do you mean?
You don't agree?
Not really. It's not that. I don't get it.
I want to force my will on people.
How refreshingly honest.
Don't give me a weird look like that. It's not like that was always my intention. At first, I was just bored. I wanted to see someone's passion for something. Then I could try and beat them. I wanted to test their ability or their convictions. But it wasn't possible. No one has any passion for anything in this school. They just want to keep to themselves. I can't believe it. It's too boring that way. I thought that there was no way these drab people could be for real. It goes beyond not wanting to make waves. They had to have some interests. They had to be hiding something. I wanted to expose it and reveal it and drag it out. One of the most successful ways to get people to open up to you and cheer them up is to open up with a story about yourself, and then you ease them into telling you about themselves. It's like give and take, but with an element of manipulation, which makes it interesting. I can't do that. If I attempt to have Misha talk about me, for me, it makes me seem arrogant. The message has to go through a messenger. I'm standing next to Misha, telling her to tell someone about me. You don't have to be able to read sign language to see that. If I were forced to sit through that, I would think I was arrogant too. I was frustrated. I couldn't figure out a way to have a conversation with anyone but Misha. No one would open up to me. I came to the conclusion that I can't make people confide in me or believe in me. I can only hope to create things and show them to people and hope they make them happy. Or I could be more forceful and hope it would eventually stick to someone. I guess that would be me. Feels vaguely depressing. Somewhere along the line, I think I started to ignore Misha or see her as less of a person or something like that. I took her for granted. I think would be the best way to put it. It was like she was just an extension of myself. I forgot that the whole time, Misha was there, opening up to me and giving 100% every day. I missed what I was looking for because it was in plain sight. How stupid of me. I really did become arrogant. That's why I've lost. I'm more short-sighted than I was back then. I went in reverse. She's pacing back and forth now, almost brooding, yet still filled with so much energy that she can't stand to stop moving. If you got her to hold 2 wires, I'm sure Shizune could power a light bulb. It's odd that I could have such a light-hearted thought while she's being so serious. And in spite of that, Misha tells me that I'm her inspiration. Isn't that ridiculous? I'm not the kind of person who can inspire others. Even if a person who inspires you is flawed, it can be acceptable. I've thought about this. There is even acceptable hypocrisy. For instance, if your hero was an athlete but unsportsmanlike, they could still be respected for their athletic ability, even if they had shortcomings as a person. However, she snaps her fingers briskly. It sounds like a thunderclap in the empty room, and Shizune takes a few seconds to stretch her fingers. Come to think of it, this is the most she has ever signed. If someone like me has no goals, it would be totally unacceptable. It would be the worst kind of hypocrisy, and hypocrites don't deserve responsibility over anything. They can't even manage themselves. How incredibly pessimistic. It makes me angry to think about it. I would hate myself just a few months ago. This must be how I look to others. And funnily enough, it was Shizune and Misha who convinced me to stop. Without them, I'm sure things would be much different, and not for the better. Lately I feel as though we pass around our miseries as much as we're supported by each other. But I think it just comes with the territory of having friends and being close to someone.
You're the leader anyway.
That is only because no one else wants to be.
But that means you still are, since people are putting their trust in you anyway. In fact, doesn't that make it more important? Either way, you are the leader. You are the inspirational figure, or whatever you want to call it. You're responsible for what you tame. I read that in a book somewhere.
That's clever. Shizune only seems to show what she's feeling on her face when she wants to, but I don't think she's being sarcastic. I don't want to tame anyone, though. Being the leader and being looked up to then, same thing. I never wanted to be the leader, it just ends up that way.
I don't believe that. All you do is try to grab more and more responsibility.
Wait, I wasn't going to tell you that I don't enjoy it. I don't care about being the leader, but I don't mind. I don't care about being the best, but I don't mind. You're right, though, about me wanting responsibility. Of course I want more responsibility. Having responsibility makes me feel alive. That's why I joined the student council. If there's no pressure, I just can't stand it. Even so, now I'm the leader. I always thought being the leader meant you give orders, but it really is more. It's about having a goal. If I don't have a goal, then it's pointless. People would only be following me for my own enjoyment. It would be selfish. It's a strangely moral viewpoint for a person who seems to love one-upping others so much. Resting her chin on her tinted fingers, Shizune looks disarmingly childish as she thinks hard about her problem. The expression on her face is a little comical because it's too obvious and therefore very unlike her.
It comes with the job. I think You'd have to be a leader. You wouldn't be satisfied with anything else. You'd just get bored.
Shizune doesn't reply, but from her annoyed expression, I think I've guessed correctly.
I've been thinking that I need a little direction too.
Were you told that it's important to contribute to society?
What an unusual response. It's so out of nowhere that I don't know how to respond. And it also bothers me, though I don't know why. Possibly because it doesn't seem like something that would come from her. So I start to think that it isn't Shizune's thought at all. I wonder who told her that. Well, it was probably her dad.
But there is a chance that she came up with that on her own.
If so, would it be because she can't hear? Why do you say that?
Just because.
I don't believe it. I guess that's right, though.
I see. I don't know if it's the same for me. I hate it.
I think everyone wants a purpose.
Looking back, it makes sense that Shizune doesn't have one. All that energy would otherwise have been directed at something. Since she had nothing to channel it towards, she's now lashed out in all directions. Reminds me of a downed power line flailing in a storm. Furious and incandescent, but aimless and dangerous, just like Shizune. I want to say that this is why she feels the need to turn everything into a competition, but that's probably just how she is. Having a goal to put that energy towards is just the next level. How about this? I could go into business. My family is well connected, so it shouldn't be too hard. That comes off sounding a little unethical and nepotistic, don't you think? Nepotism, hoi.
A little.
I won't coast, though. I'll work hard until I'm at the very apex. When I have as much money as possible, so much that it'll be like I won't know what to do with it, I'll move on to the next step. After sitting on it for a while, of course, like a fairy tale dragon.
You want to be?
A philanthropist. What were you thinking? That I want to be a miser? Well, it's true. It's part of the plan. Don't sell me short and stop there, though.
Shizune still looks uneasy.
Of course, even if she did seem to resolve her problem quickly, no one can get over their anxieties that fast. No one can solve their problems that easily. The important thing, it looks as though she has her heart set on trying. It's still hard to tell whether that drive of hers comes from a good or bad place. But she has something to hold on to now. I can genuinely believe that she does. I'm happy for her. And at the same time, I feel a little cold. I'm the one who's behind. Now I'm the only one without a goal.
Gosh. Okay.
Gosh. Phew. We got this. There haven't been any further disruptions since that week. Of course, that's what I thought the week before that, and Shizune and Misha's sudden, newfound clarity had left me feeling a little lost and envious. I thought there was no way I could rest easy at the time. But fortunately, nothing came of my worries. Then, before I knew it, there was enough to deal with in school that I even managed to put them off my mind, and still, everything was fine. I was wrong. I'd seen Shizune and Misha's carefully hidden vulnerabilities, but they were still strong. Now we're going to be graduating soon. I've grown so comfortable here that it kind of crept up on me. When it did, I felt sad and didn't want to think about it, so I didn't. Not until recently. About a week ago, I started making a list of people I thought I should say goodbye to before graduation. The first rule I laid out for myself was that I would try not to write them down in any kind of special order, like least important to most important. Somehow it ended up like that anyway. Even though it also ended up being a shorter list than I expected it to be. Kenji is somewhere in the middle.
They said I would have to graduate eventually. Well, I showed them. I've lived here rent-free for more than long enough. If you take into account that the rising cost of land, I think you could say I've won in the end. No, you know what? I did win. History will acknowledge me as the victor. The victor of what? I managed to stay out of sight and slip through the cracks. I beat the system. If you put it that way, it sounds like you just ran away from the system. Sometimes, running is the greatest form of victory, like in the Olympics.
I'm too tired to agree with him. Who's he kidding? Everyone knows the shot put is the best Olympic event in any case.
So what you're basically saying is you won't miss it? Miss what? School, dummy. No, I told you, this place is too filled with feminists. It's beyond saving. But at least I'll be able to get out before it reaches critical mass. I'll only come back years later when they build a statue to honor me. Do they do the 10-year later reunion thing here? Sorry. How would I know that? Probably. Anyway, I have to start packing now. Take care of yourself, man. You should have packed a week ago like I did.
Not that I had much to pack.
That's not how it goes. You're supposed to do everything at the last minute. Men are better at doing everything at the last minute. The last minute can have more productivity than like the entire week before it. It's how we keep stuff fair. You'll never understand our manly ways. You take care of yourself too.
With a salute, he shoots backward through the door, slamming it shut behind him hard enough that the entire dorm probably heard it. I've noticed that a lot of people slam doors here. Maybe it's a local thing. Take care of myself. It's the first time I've heard him say it. Usually he ends our conversations with something like, "See ya, I'll pay you back later, man." Well, he was a little annoying sometimes, but I'll miss him. I cross him off my list mentally. The list is very short now, and I once again discard the notion of going through it in any kind of order. Like I said, I never had that intention. So I go out to look for Shizune and Misha. I can only think of one place they could be. The student council room, of course. Turning the corner, I almost bump into a small group of students. For a second, a bitter feeling flashes through me, since for all I know that could have been fatal. It's the new student council. There aren't a lot of them, but a lot more than 3, which is good since it means there's enough of them that they can have each other and they can each have their own title. It would have been cool if I could have had a little desk plaque with my name and title on it. I don't think they do that now, or ever did, unfortunately. The new student council surrounds me while I'm thinking. If anyone were looking at this from afar, it would be a pretty sinister sight. Maybe they have come to finally get back on me for calling them the new student council all those times. I was just translating for Shizune, but I guess I should have been less lazy and more tactful. I regret nothing. I find myself being thanked for everything I've done. I'm being thanked. This should make me happy, considering how often I would think to myself that being in the student council was a completely thankless job. It does make me happy, but I can't enjoy it fully. I wonder how things would have turned out if our student council had grown as large as the one that's set to replace us. Even though they've only got 2 or 3 other members, it's enough that they have set roles. Not like us, where Shizune seemed to be the president, but that was it. The new student council thanking me gives me a strange feeling. It's like coming back home and seeing a tree that you nurtured years before has grown. But I feel like I didn't nurture that tree enough. I wonder what more I could have done. It would likely make Shizune furious that I would feel distant from what I did in the student council this way, or that I'd imply I didn't do enough, but it's true. I was only following her. So in a way, I also feel like I'm viewing that same tree from far away, as if I'm seeing it from the window of a train as it passes by. I indulged in these thoughts for too long. When I snap out of it, I realize that I'm still standing there surrounded by the new student council. I do the only thing I can do and apologize for zoning out. Then I thank them back. When they walk away, I enter the student council room, which looks a lot messier but seems to have gained a computer. It makes sense. I recall hearing one of the clipboard girls talking about her plans to use a computer to make all the boring data entries Shizune does more tolerable. I can't remember which one said it though. Aoi seems to be the more ambitious one, but then again Keiko appears more serious. Well, it doesn't matter now. I'm not alone in the room. But instead of finding Shizune here like I expected, it's just Misha. She's sitting on Shizune's desk, like Shizune herself often does, swinging her legs back and forth. When our eyes meet, she hops off and inexplicably poses like a superhero. Hi, Hi-chan! I'm surprised to see you here.
What are you doing?
You first.
I was looking for Shizune.
Me too. I thought she would be here, but I got Hi-chan instead.
Gee, thanks.
Well, this is good. Really. I wanted to talk to you anyway.
About what?
I take the time to glance around the room a little more. I see a hot plate,
They are really living high.
I wanted to say sorry, of course, for all the trouble I made for you and Shichan.
Don't call it trouble.
Right.
Don't apologize to Shizune.
Ah, right. But that isn't why I'm here, Hichan. I wouldn't apologize to Shichan. Since you're here, I want to ask you a question. Hichan, what do you think it would take for Shichan to be happy?
Well, domination, obviously.
Even though you're joking, Hichan. No, even if she could, it wouldn't make Shichan happy. Only for a little while. Hichan, have you ever heard of artists who tear up their paintings as soon as they finish them? Such people really exist in the world, you know. I remembered it all of a sudden. It's just like Shichan, now that I think about it. Whenever Shichan sets up a challenge for herself and completes it, she acts like her skills have no meaning anymore. I wonder, is it because she can't create anything permanent? It's just like those artists, and how they want to create a piece of art to leave behind a really great one, but can't do it. It's really obvious when I look back at it, but I didn't see it before. Now, I am scared. I wonder if Shichan will ever be happy.
No, I don't think so. Not about her ever being happy. I think you're wrong. Shizune is actually happy more often than I thought. I think it's actually kind of amazing. Usually people don't think about that kind of stuff until they're middle-aged or dying. And they think, I want to leave something behind or I want to be remembered. Like me. Only I skipped ahead a little. My life was short and seemed even shorter after my heart attack. I didn't think about what I was leaving behind, because I very quickly thought there was almost nothing I was leaving behind. So all that was left for me was to stew in my own bitterness. Shizune already wants to leave her mark somewhere, but she wants to do it by helping people. That's why celebrations are so important to her. She even wants to be a philanthropist. I think it's the best way to live, living on by what you give to others. Even if it's for a selfish reason, that's okay too. Shizune is already happy, because if something goes well, there will always be someone else to see it and remember it. That's what makes her happy.
Misha sighs, arms stiff at her sides, hands tapping the air softly. Before I still thought, I might be able to make Shizune happy, and I was in a good place to do it before. Since I was her interpreter, I could always be with her. Maybe. And I thought I would do it by becoming like Shichan's shadow. I kept trying even when she rejected me. It felt like I was stuck and I couldn't do anything but watch Shichan's back getting smaller while she kept going. I was scared, even though I should have just accepted it. It's hard. Maybe I could have at least understood Shichan. But it looks like I was completely wrong after all. I didn't even know that or think about it. Shichan would call it a complete loss. Okay, I'm done. That's it, Hichan. But since you're the one who knows Shichan best of all, you can't make her cry, or I'll be angry. I'm going to go overseas after this. I even have letters of recommendation, or I don't think I would be able to normally. Maybe I'll study and become a sign language teacher over there? Who knows? That means you have to look after Shichan, okay?
Misha's smile is as honest as ever, but she's obviously changed. The look in her eyes is that of a much more attentive girl. It seems to be true that hardship builds wisdom. It reminds me of the look in Shizune's eyes. I wonder what Shizune might have been through to become who she is. I can take a guess. Or maybe she was always like that. I want to see her even more, and suggest to Misha that we should look for her together. Of course, it's just a pretext to spend more time with a friend. It's strange how it hasn't been long since we last hung out together, the three of us, in the span of a routine student council day. Yet, it seems like it was long ago. Thinking about the future can put that kind of lens over the past. Speaking of lenses. Outside, Yuko is standing around, fiddling with a tiny, modern-looking camera in her hands.
It would be unnoticeable if it weren't metallic enough to reflect the sunlight. Misha calls out to her. I thought we were supposed to be looking for Shizune. Hi, hi! I can't go loud at this time of night. Anyway. What are you doing? I'm just taking photos of everyone. That's obvious. Awkward. Misha, I'll never forget how you taught me that someone can hold so many secrets and still have a massive lack of tact. Massive lack of tact. Goodbye. We've broken 2 hours and I
Where's my photo?
You want a copy? I don't know. Well, only if you promise to keep it a secret, or else everyone will want one too. That happened to me in elementary school, only it was with candy. Okay, I'll take a photo of you now then.
Oh wait, I'm not ready. I was just kidding.
Hi-chan, make a peace sign.
I'm not going to do that. The camera flash goes off, blinding me. Yuko shields herself behind it, letting out a moan of frustration. You're not supposed to turn the flash on outdoors? She starts apologizing unnecessarily, then quickly slips away. Wait.
Yes? Did you see Shi-chan around here? Yes, in front of the gate.
Thanks.
I can barely get it out before I have to start following behind Misha. Fortunately, not for very long. The gate is barely a minute's walk from here, even though that can be tiring for me sometimes. We see Shizune with the student council. They're probably thanking her too. As soon as she sees us, she shoos them away, which is very easy since I doubt any of them can understand sign language or use it, so they're not too sad about leaving. Which in turn makes me wonder why they would thank her without someone who can, but it's the thought that counts. Misha immediately hugs Shizune, and then leans against the gate next to her. I, on the other hand, decide to hang back a little and let them talk. After all, Misha wanted to talk to Shizune this whole time. I can wait. I even turn away so I don't eavesdrop on their conversation. I end up losing track of the time. When I look at my watch, it's already been 10 minutes. I wonder if they're done and turn around to find them behind me. What are you thinking about?
Boring philosophical things that I don't want to talk about. Don't worry, I'm not thinking about it too hard.
Good. Getting philosophical at a time like this would be the worst thing you could do.
Yeah, I just want to stand here for a bit. It's relaxing.
It was a busy week.
Not really, not for me.
I know that they must have been busy, but I think I know what I want to do now, and when it hit me, I didn't feel particularly fired up or anxious. It is the opposite. I feel at peace for the first time in a long time, and I want to savor that feeling a little more. I think that I want to teach here. As soon as I thought this, a long winding road appeared in my mind, an uncertain road that leads back here. I wonder if I'll be able to meet someone in the future like me, someone filled with bitterness. I want to talk to that person since I can't talk to myself. I want to tell them that life is too short, something that couldn't be told to me, only shown. I want to do it without pity. If I had been pitied, I'm sure that I'd have only died a little more. When I think about that first week, I still think about how well it went, so well that it could only be called the result of kindness. I feel like I want to show others the same kindness. And I also want to keep chasing Shizune. What did the new student council want, Shi-chan? It's hard to daydream when you have to deal with Misha's voice.
I didn't know they had someone who knew sign language.
They don't. I think it was most likely just a goodbye, so I appreciate it, even though I couldn't tell them. How did you know I was here?
Is it supposed to be a secret? Anyway, we just asked Yuko. Did she take a photo of you too?
Yes, without asking me first. Since Yuko doing anything spur of the moment is rare though, I'll let it go. She snaps her fingers more because I think she likes it than out of realization of an idea. We should take a photo of the three of us. We haven't taken the student council photo yet. Now's the perfect chance. But if I have to look at this picture a year from now, I don't want us staring back at me. What does that mean, Shi-chan? Pictures are supposed to capture the moment, isn't that right? Without a doubt. They're not portraits. Just standing around would be so stiff. Wouldn't even capture how I feel. I feel like we'll meet again, so this isn't an occasion to take such a serious photo. It should be a see you later type of photo. Not a big deal. It should be something more festive.
Oh boy.
Like this. Follow me. Shizune poses like a musketeer so quickly that I'm sure even she knows it's silly.
Do we really have to do such a cheesy pose? Do we really have to do such a cheesy pose?
I can think of no better pose. Misha, go find Yuko. I don't like this pose either, but I think it's kind of nice.
That doesn't even make sense.
She's already gone and returns dragging Yuko behind her. The flash is off. A red LED blinks 3 times above it after Yuko's finger presses the button. Shizune glances at both of us to make sure we have the timing down. Synchronize watches. We jump. I bet that turned out excellently. Okay. Now let's get one with Yuko too. No, please.
That's not necessary.
I want a copy of this photo too. I'll likely die younger than the average person. My life could unexpectedly burn out at any time. I don't have any time to waste then. I want to live as much as possible. I also want to see other people smile from what I've made and done. Living vicariously through the happiness of others doesn't seem so bad. Feeling joy through another person's happiness doesn't seem like such a bad thing. It's the easiest way I can think of to draw out my own life and give it distinction. Maybe this is the meaning that Shizune has found for herself, although it's just my theory. People find themselves alone often in their lives and without direction. However, people can take refuge in moments of happiness. They can dot a person's life like stops on a train map, or waypoints of memory on a long trail. These individual moments on reflection can give a person's life fulfillment. Every friend and festival and joyful meeting and joyful parting. I want to be able to ask Shizune one day if I'm right. I want to spend the time I have with her. Finally, I want to make Shizune smile for herself.
I love you.
I pause, wondering if she'll look at me confused and ask why I'd said it out of the blue. She doesn't.
Do they do that reunion thing here?
Of course they do. A student council member should know that. Sooner than that, though, okay? Both of you. Right.
Yeah.
Yuko, you do the pose too. Afterwards we can go for tea. Shizune laughs as if she doesn't have a care in the world, Misha's laughter joining with hers as easily as if it were her own. We'll meet again. I'm so glad we made it to the end in one stream. Because if I had to split it again, I think I would probably cry. Oh, the girls. Gosh. Well, there we have it. There we have it. Now we've got Shizune and Misha on the front. Ah. A lovely route, I think. I really do appreciate the kind of friendship they have. I do also like the fact that... Sorry, just me reflecting back on the route and experiencing it like this. I do appreciate the fact that the route, it doesn't just focus and capitalize on the romance that is meant to happen between you and Shizune, or Hisawa and Shizune rather. But it also focuses a lot on just the building of a friendship with her. And that's really important, you know, as you learn to communicate with each other and then learn to appreciate and understand different things about each other. Those are the cornerstones of making any relationship work, not just between boyfriend and girlfriend. I care, Misha. I care, Misha, and I'm very sorry that I can't do her voice any justice, particularly because I don't, I'm sure many of you have noticed this, but I don't shout. I don't shout during streams or scream or make any loud noise. Although I'll raise my voice occasionally, it definitely doesn't become booming loud shout. And I feel like Misha is meant to be, like, she's meant to be loud, but more often than not she's just kind of a whispery, just whispery because I'm at the helm and I can't shout on her behalf. Someday I might try and, you know, break through the non-shouting barrier and get to do screamy streams or what have you. But now is probably not. I would say now it's not going to happen. But, well, we made it. We made it to the end of one route in Katawa Shoujo. I'm a little stunned that it took this long. Like, these past couple of reads, I'm doing my best to power through, but it's been a lot. Too slow read, but also a lot of content. But nonetheless, I really like this game. I'm sorry for naked Shizune having to break that with the good old Tachiri Kinshu sign. But yes, if you guys want to go back and experience those hot, steamy melon moments, please play the game yourself. It is entirely free to download, free to play, and it is very high quality. If you can't tell, you get a lot of really good content, and all the characters are really interesting. And I can't say enough good things about this game. It just lives very warmly in the back of my mind, always. But now we've reached the end. I will bid you farewell. We made it! Yatta! Next time, we'll be playing... So I'm not done with this game. I'm not done with this game yet. Next time, we will be playing a different route. If you can guess who's coming next. No hints. No hints. But we'll be playing through another person's route. And slowly we'll navigate our way through, I mean, at the pace that I've been working at on this game. On this route, I mean. If that is any indication, we'll be playing this for a long time. But that aside, bid you all a wonderful night.